So, we've entered a very strange world. A world where conspiracy theorists, the people who've been saying this stuff for decades, are suddenly ahead of everyone else. There's no more denying it. It's time to do your due diligence. It's time to actually look into this. And for everyone who spent years doubting them, now's your chance to help shine a light on the darkness. What if I told you that Epstein wasn't just connected to secret societies, he was in them? That he had real esoteric knowledge? That he was a part of a 158-year-old secret society that most people have never heard of, and he even wanted to start his own? Get ready, because after this, you'll never see the world the same. In part 1 of Epstein Unveiled, we went through the genetics in detail. The baby farms, the egg doctor, the CRISPR research, the DNA kits shipped to Dubai. And there's still more to discuss on that front. But right now, we need to go to a layer that I didn't get into in part 1. Because for a lot of people, it's just too unfathomable. It can't be real. Epstein, the inner circle, and the occult. Now before we dive into this methodically, I want to address some things. If you've been online the past few weeks, you've probably seen some pretty wild claims about what's in the files. It would seem that the Ball or Bale bank account was some type of OCR error, and I did look for spirit cooking and cannibal terms, but I couldn't find any EFTAs that could confirm this. So there is a lot of noise out there, a lot of reaction content, and that's really why I wasn't interested in looking into this in the first place. But my workflow is, if I can't verify it, I'm not going to use it. I just want to show you what's actually in the documents and connect the dots. That's it. I'll have the EFTA numbers on your screen so you can look it up yourself. What's actually in there is worse than the noise. So let's start with this. This is an email from Epstein's files, and keep in mind, at this point he's already been convicted. Someone in his circle is sending him this. Suggestions for an old guy, super smart, well connected, that wants to continue legacy of old school secret society. Continue the legacy, not start one, continue one, an old school secret society. The same month, this comes in. Just got a note from Bob Pixie. Zodiac is one of the really cool ones. 12 members, still very secret. Dinners in exotic locations. Okay, so I looked into the Zodiac Club. This is real, founded in 1868 in Manhattan. Only 12 members at any time. Each one gets assigned a zodiac sign. Aries, Taurus, Gemini, and you only get replaced when someone dies. And this members list is pretty crazy. JP Morgan was Brother Libra in 1903. Bob Pyrie ran Rothschilds Incorporated, the American arm of the Rothschild banking dynasty. Paul Volcker, the chairman of the Federal Reserve. So Epstein's circle was being consulted on nominating Murray Gell-Mann, a Nobel Prize winning physicist, for membership. But it gets crazy because in 1910, a group of men traveled in secret to Jekyll Island. They used fake names, told the press they were going duck hunting, but what they were actually doing was writing the blueprint for what became the Federal Reserve, the central bank of the United States. And at least 2 of those men were members of the Zodiac Club. So, you have a secret society that's been around for 158 years, whose members include the Rothschilds, the architect of the Federal Reserve, JP Morgan, and Jeffrey Epstein got an invitation? And Rothschild isn't just a name that shows up once. Ariane de Rothschild had scheduled meetings with Epstein in New York. Jacob Rothschild was forwarding messages through her. Epstein was sending gifts to Alice de Rothschild at NYU. There's even an email to Peter Thiel that says, quote, "As you probably know, I represent the Rothschilds." That's just sitting in the files. And it doesn't stop at the Zodiac Club. This is in Epstein's own bio. He wrote this himself. Former member of the Trilateral Commission, the Council on Foreign Relations. If you're not familiar, the Trilateral Commission was founded by David Rockefeller in 1973. About 390 members from North America, Europe, and Asia. The Council on Foreign Relations is probably the most powerful foreign policy organization in the United States. and Epstein listed membership in both on his own resume. And then you have Ghislaine Maxwell casually emailing, "I'm coming in for the trilateral meetings. We can coordinate some trouble." Coordinate some trouble? On top of that, Peter Mandelson, one of the most powerful politicians in Britain, is emailing Epstein directly. There are plane rides to Bilderberg meetings in the files. So just to be clear, this is where we are. Zodiac Club, Trilateral Commission, Council on Foreign Relations, Bilderberg, all of it documented in his own files and some of it on his own resume. But it goes deeper than this. When I started looking at how this network actually operated internally, there was a whole hierarchy. Look at this. I was told by my inner circle not to have any communication with him, and if I did, I would be in deep trouble. Think about that. Someone was told by the inner circle, not by Epstein personally, by the inner circle, that they couldn't talk to someone, and if they did, they'd be in deep trouble. Another email. Mike was a part of our inner circle. And when someone made an unauthorized introduction into the network, brought someone in without permission, Epstein was furious. My inner circle putting me at risk? There were even access codes. This email literally instructs someone on how to get past a gate. That was the credential for getting to Reid Hoffman, friend of the first circle. Inner circle, first circle, initiates? If you know anything about the history of fraternal orders and secret societies, this is exactly how they operate. And then I found this email thread from June 2011. This ties it all together. It's between Epstein and a woman named Marina, who's writing from Istanbul. And Epstein says, trying to build the 4 levels of Topkapi ideas, initiates, favorites, beliefs, principles. Topkapi Palace, that's the Ottoman Sultan's residence. The Topkapi harem had a formal hierarchy: novice, trainee, favorite, chief consort. And Epstein is designing his own version of that. 4 levels with names. And Marina responds, "By the way, what are the levels at Jeffrey's harem?" She's asking about the levels like it's an existing system, like everyone knows about it. And Epstein responds by quoting Mozart's opera, The Abduction from the Sarajevo, which is literally an opera about women held captive in a harem. The harem meant protection for those inside from those outside. That's the same language secret societies have used for centuries. Protection for the initiated. Let's keep going. On top of that, someone sent Epstein a Bohemian Grove documentary with a note, "So I thought of you." And it goes deeper. Moritz Skaugen, a Norwegian shipping magnate in Epstein's network, emails Epstein from Singapore. EFTA 018774737. Greetings from Singapore. On my way to California to try to understand about the people at the Bohemian Grove. So it's not just a documentary. He's flying to California to investigate the Bohemian Grove and reporting back to Epstein? Epstein donated $50,000 to the Order of the Golden Sphinx Gala, another secret order. The Circle of the Inter-Alliance, a Paris elite club? It's in his emails. Okay, Zodiac Club, Trilateral, Bohemian Grove, Golden Sphinx, Circle of the Inter-Alliance. A 4-level initiation system modeled on an Ottoman harem and an inner circle with access codes and consequences for breaking rank. This wasn't a guy who went to a couple of fancy dinners. He was collecting these things. And he named it EFTA 01613019, an iMessage from 2017. Epstein is discussing who should be brought into his network. Bill Hyman, former DARPA head, Jeffrey Ling, Ed Boyden from MIT Neuroscience. Both are welcome to our secret society. They will join Joy Ito, Ed Boyden, and Caleb. So Joy Ito is in the secret society? Our secret society That's what he called it. His network of MIT, DARPA, and Gates Foundation connections. And it's not metaphorical, he literally typed it. But the thing is, if you look at this text chain, the person texting Epstein, the DOJ redacted their name. Every message the sender is blacked out. But if you read it, you can figure out who it is. The sender says Jeffrey Ling, former head of DARPA, is, quote, a very, very good friend of mine. He tried to make me work at DARPA. They say they're in Seattle with BG, Bill Gates, through April 29th. They name Mark Sussman and Jeff Lamb, Gates Foundation leadership, calling them old guard gargoyles refusing to let other opinions in. Basically, this is advice on how Gates should handle Trump. They tell Epstein that both of them had advised BG to pick a topic and make a deal, quote, something quid pro quo. And Jeffrey Ling isn't just some random person. Do you guys know who this is? He founded DARPA's Biological Technologies Office, the division that builds brain-computer interfaces. So this MW calls this guy a total genius who knows how to make science fiction science fact. And Epstein's response? Both are welcome to our secret society. This is most likely Melanie Walker, Gates Foundation executive, World Economic Forum agenda contributor, and former DARPA advisor. Why is she trying to recruit people into a secret society? And then there's this, EFTA 019033035. March 2013, Epstein writes to Boris Nikolic, Bill Gates' personal science advisor. We talked about him in part 1. It's about what he calls uncensored comments about the Giving Pledge. The Giving Pledge, Gates and Buffett's initiative where billionaires commit to giving away most of their wealth. And Epstein proposes turning it into a secret fraternity. The actual initiation ceremony is shrouded in mystery. It may take several hours and involve chanting, robes, blindfolds, and candlelight. The pledge will be initiated into the secrets of the fraternity. From secret mottos and grips to passwords and the meaning behind rituals, he will be sworn to secrecy. Why not follow the Giving Pledge with an initiation into the most select group? Yeah, we're here, guys. Sworn to secrecy. He wanted to build a secret society out of the world's richest people, and he sent it to the man who advised Bill Gates on science. Then there's Brock Pierce, crypto pioneer, former child actor with his own allegations, EFTA 026200047, October 2018. Pierce and Epstein are texting about visiting Little St. James, and Pierce casually mentions where he lives. Sure thing, I live in the first Masonic temple built in the New World, 250 Calle de Cristo, in San Juan, Puerto Rico. That's his house, and he's planning trips to Epstein's island from it. David Hansen. You might not know his name, but you know his work. Creator of Sophia, the world's most famous humanoid robot, the one that went viral, the one that got citizenship in Saudi Arabia. David Hansen is all over the Epstein archive. January 2013, Ben Goertzel, one of the world's leading AI researchers, sends this email to Epstein and Hansen. I was talking to Jeffrey Epstein today, and he's potentially interested in having you make him a custom humanoid robot for him. He's been talking to you about you potentially funding our joint AGI robotics research efforts, as well as about him sculpting a Robo-Epstein for you. That would be awesome. A Robo-Epstein? A humanoid robot in Epstein's own image? Hansen sent Epstein a 6-page white paper for something called the Genie Lab. $84,000 a month, $3 million over 36 months. The research included mind uploading, quote, using AI and large datasets to create functional portraits of existing personalities. But here's what's on Hansen's CV, the same CV that was in Epstein's files. Page 10. OTO active 2010 to present. That's Aleister Crowley's occult order. Now look, on its own, being a part of the OTO isn't weird. It's an active worldwide organization. A lot of artists and academics are into it. Same with Kabbalah. Same with ceremonial magic. None of that is a crime. But when you keep reading the CV, page 7, there's a 1995 art project. Kabbalah labyrinth with nodes of sensual delight. Page 10, a 1993 symposium. Miracles and monstrosities. Genetically engineered art. And Hanson's relationship with Epstein wasn't brief. Skype calls through 2017. In May 2018, 8 months before Epstein's final arrest, someone wrote, "Crazy meeting with Hanson." So individually, none of this is damning, but when you put it together, OTO on the CV, a $3 million lab proposal, a robo-Epstein, Kabbalah labyrinth, genetically engineered art, and the guy he's building all of this for is running baby farms and buying Crowley's sex magic books, that's when the pattern starts to look different. January 7th, 2015, Yosha Bach, an AI researcher at MIT Media Lab in Harvard, emails Epstein from Berlin. He mentions two people, Michael Vassar and Michelle Riley. They're in Puerto Rico, and they want to visit the island. Epstein responds immediately. Have them come tomorrow at 12, leave at 5. His assistant books the flights. January 9, Epstein emails Bach about the visit. I like the idea. He and Michelle were here yesterday. Again, you were right. He was fun and blue-eyed. Yeah. 2 days later, January 11th, 2015, Michelle Riley, quantum computing scientist, Princeton math, Columbia physics, co-funded a startup with MIT professor Seth Lloyd, sends this email to Epstein. Thanks, Jeff. You asked for fun projects. I think we're mostly starving for great conspiracies today. 10 to 12 person coordinated secrets. What about a new Rosicrucianism of sorts? A new Rosicrucianism? She's proposing they build one. What are your thoughts on funding and constructing your own intelligence agency? She even talks about the science salons. I'd also like to do an exclusive science salon sort of thing at a place like Esalen, or maybe on Little St. James. Experimentation with philosophers and scientists examining physiological stuff. Physiological stuff? Experimentation? On the island? High-profile island orgies also independently come to mind, but I have a strong suspicion that you may already have that covered. Fraternal regards from one Coney Island baby to another. Hold up. Fraternal regards? That's fraternal order language. But did you catch that? One Coney Island baby to another. In the early 1900s, Coney Island was famous for putting premature babies on display in incubators as a sideshow attraction. From one incubator baby to another. And she's writing this to the man running baby farms. Epstein received this at 10:34 p.m. At 11:02 p.m., 28 minutes later, he forwarded it to Yosha Bach. Bach replied at 12:26 a.m. A shadow research planning academy where scientific visionaries project future research agendas in new disciplines. A series of workshops focusing on neglected knowledge such as Russian psychopharmacology, Buddhist psychology, Chinese opinion control. A network of media people that can be used to efficiently place and coordinate friendly items in our corrupt opinion market. Psychedelic retreats for groups of select individuals with the explicit goal to create a tightly knit group capable of radically thinking and influencing global affairs. There are some more that I would not want to put into email. How much more do they need to spell it out for you? A shadow academy, media manipulation, psychedelic retreats for global influence, and things that he wouldn't put in writing. Bach wasn't an outsider. Epstein funded him directly. He stayed in Epstein's Manhattan apartment. Epstein's office booked his flights. He's all over the archive. December 8th, 2014, John Brockman, founder of the Edge Foundation, the man who organized the Billionaires' Dinners, sets up an art event in Palo Alto. Larry Page, co-founder of Google, Elon Musk, and Wojcicki, co-founder of 23andMe, the DNA company, Jeffrey Epstein. In the entertainment, Marina Abramovich, masterclass on art, segueing into something spontaneously orchestrated, an Abramovich piece. Marina Abramovich, the performance artist, performing for a room containing the co-founder of Google, Elon Musk, the CEO of a DNA company, and Jeffrey Epstein. You, however, are far more mysterious and intriguing. That's how Brockman described Epstein to the other guest. Mysterious and intriguing. Also on the guest list, Mucha Prada, and in a footnote about the architect Rem Koolhaas, Brockman noted he couldn't attend. Unfortunately, is in Moscow, December 7th, meeting with Putin. And about those billionaire dinners, EFTA 0251169, quote, "It is Bill Gates who at the end of the summer began prodding Epstein to begin a process of public rehabilitation. That means Gates wasn't duped. He initiated the comeback." And after one of Brockman's dinners, the ones with Bezos, both Google founders, Musk, Epstein emails Brockman, EFTA 019297775. "Your Goyim dinner was amazing. Thank you very much for including me. Where are the Jews?" That's how he talked about a room full of the most powerful people in technology. Les Wexner, founder of L Brands, Victoria's Secret, Bath & Body Works, The Limited, the man who gave Jeffrey Epstein power of attorney over his entire financial empire, gave him a $13.2 million Manhattan mansion and gave him access to Victoria's Secret. In 1985, New York Magazine published a profile of Les Wexner. And in that profile, Wexner described living with a debug since he was a boy. His father recognized it, calling it the churning. A debug, in Jewish mysticism, is a possessing spirit. The article describes it as the demon that always wakes up in the morning with Wexner and tweaks and pulls at him. Okay, so follow me. Les Wexner, the billionaire who handed his entire empire to Jeffrey Epstein, told a major magazine he lived with a demon, and nobody followed up on that. In 2019, the FBI listed Wexner as one of the 10 co-conspirators in Epstein's trafficking operation. That document sat sealed until January 2026. Power of attorney, $13 million mansion, Victoria's Secret, FBI co-conspirator, and he told you that he lived with a demon. Now again, I don't think it's a crime to have books on magic or even sex magic, but with this context, we need to cover it because Bloomberg News verified some of Epstein's book purchases. Modern Sex Magic, Secrets of Erotic Spirituality. Apparently, the book contains what the publisher describes as the rarest of Crowley's sex magic instructions and the sexual secrets of Kabbalah dating back to the Temple of Solomon. Secrets of Western Tantra by Christopher S. Hyatt. Hyatt co-founded the Thelemic Order of the Golden Dawn. In the preface, the Aeon of the Child, Crowley's New Age, ruled by a child god. Basically, the reason why I bring this up is because most likely, Epstein knew about the creation of a moonchild. Now, most of you probably don't know what that is, and if I explain it right now, you would think I'm crazy. So I'll break that down properly in its own video. All I'll say for now is, if you haven't seen Homunculus Unveiled, go watch it. Interestingly, he also had chakra and kundalini workbooks, Merchants in the Temple by Gianluigi Nuzzi, an expose of Vatican financial corruption in child abuse scandals. But let me show you something that goes way beyond the bookshelf. So Epstein didn't just read about Kabbalah, he was being taught it, apparently, by a man named Mark Fisher, EFTA 02428-208. March 10, 2010, Mark Fisher, an art dealer and Orthodox Jewish spiritual advisor, writes to Epstein. Fisher is undergoing chemotherapy, and between cancer treatments, he's teaching Jeffrey Epstein Kabbalistic doctrine. Quote, "A Jewish soul has a very different structure, different ingredients, relates to its higher levels differently, has different higher levels. relates to itself and other people in a different manner than a non-Jewish soul. To use repair methods on something as sensitive as a soul requires the right tools. You can't fix an Aston Martin with a Ford pickup truck tool set. So he's making an analogy that Jewish souls are the luxury car and non-Jewish meditation is the wrong toolkit. And this isn't Fisher's personal opinion. This is standard Tanya doctrine, the foundational text of the Chabad Lubavitch, and Fisher was teaching it directly to Jeffrey Epstein. Over the next few months, Fisher sends Epstein the Shema Yisrael, the most sacred prayer in Judaism, and asks for his Hebrew name and his mother's Hebrew name. In Kabbalah, you pray using someone's name through their mother's lineage. He offers weekly phone sessions on gematria, Torah law, and meditation. And he connects Epstein's philanthropy directly to the Wexner Heritage Foundation. The same Wexner. But this is kind of weird. Fisher died of cancer in December 2011. Epstein told an associate, quote, "Say a prayer on my behalf." But the point is, it does seem that this Jewish soul concept wasn't just a Fisher thing. This permeated the network. EFTA 018-20876. David Galernter, the Yale computer scientist, famous as the Unabomber target, is writing to Epstein about Hebrew calligraphy. And he just casually quotes the Zohar, one of the central texts of Kabbalah. As the Zohar says, man, genuine man, exists only at the moment of sexual union. Epstein responds, I think you might consider focusing on the negative spaces between the Hebrew letters, much more erotic, a bulging shema, or throbbing ka. Galernter is quoting Kabbalah and Epstein is sexualizing it. That's how the inner circle talked. EFTA 0256152, 7 years after Fisher's emails, 2017, Kathy Rumler, Barack Obama's White House counsel, writes to Epstein. And here I thought only I had a Jewish soul. And again in 2019, EFTA 02630427, Rumler to Epstein. You forgot that I have a Jewish soul? EFTA 016154776, December 2018, Epstein and Steve Bannon texting? Bannon asks about breast cancer research. Epstein just says, Jews? And then it almost seems like he's saying he's following their directions. Bannon says, love being a junior partner to chosen people of Yahweh. Then Bannon says, smart. Let's get rolling. Epstein corrects his spelling, Yahweh, like Mish Agas. Gotta get the spelling right. And then he says, not sure Beelzebub is considered a junior partner? More like outside counsel. What? And then there's this. EFTA 018-21140, October 2009. Epstein to an associate. This is the way Jews make money, selling short the shipping futures. Let the Goyim deal in the real world. Then there's this. Epstein emailed the text of Ezekiel chapter 9 verse 6. Slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children and women. So, Crowley's sex magic, the Aeon of the Child, Kabbalistic soul doctrine, a Bible verse about slaying children. This is what was on the bookshelf and in the inbox. But it wasn't just books. EFTA 02443141. Maxwell emails Epstein. To take an oath, ancient Romans put a hand on their testicles. That's where the word testimony comes from. Epstein corrects her. You have it backwards. You were required to put a hand on the other person's. The etymology is real. Testimony does come from the Latin testes. But the point isn't the joke. The point is she's sending him esoteric trivia, and he already knows more than she does. That means he was studying this. Okay, now let me show you what they built on the island. This is EFTA 027074666. Architectural calculations for Little St. James. The architect, Eon Nicola. 1.618. Phi, the golden ratio. Every Masonic temple, every cathedral, and Epstein's dome. Nicola calculated the golden ratio for the rocks, for the doors, for the dome. The blue and gold striped dome on Little St. James, which by the way the internet has been calling a temple since drone footage first surfaced, was proportioned using sacred geometry. Both properties, Little St. James and Zorro Ranch, Epstein had sundials constructed. Masonic tradition. Epstein personally directed their construction. Then there's a structure on Little St. James that was permitted as a music pavilion. But what was built deviated significantly from the plans. Blue and white striped walls, gold dome, acoustic panels, soundproofed walls, a door engineered to prevent people from leaving. Inside, a bookcase flanked by 2 pillars. Jachin and Boaz, the pillars of Solomon's temple, and every Masonic lodge in the world. Also, take a look at the ceiling. A music pavilion with soundproofed walls, a door that locks from the outside, and the pillars of Solomon's temple. Zorro Ranch, the New Mexico property, stone circles. May 2017, an email from a Saudi-connected intermediary to Jeffrey Epstein about a political meeting on the Yemen conflict. The man who presented to you with the holy black Kaaba dress holds all the strings in his hands, certainly with Washington. The holy black Kaaba dress, the kiswa, the cloth that covers the Kaaba, replaced once a year, given to heads of state, one of the holiest objects in Islam. A man with connections to Washington presented it to Epstein during a political meeting about a war. In a separate exchange, Epstein asked his staff, "Did you take the Islamic cloth to be backed, mounted, preserved, like an artifact?" This is a photo from 2014. Jeffrey Epstein and Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, chairman of DP World, one of the largest port operators on earth, inspecting a fragment of the kiswa, Islam's holiest cloth, in the hands of a convicted sex offender. 2003. This photograph was found during the 2005 raid of Epstein's Palm Beach mansion and later authenticated in the Maxwell trial. Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell in an audience with Pope John Paul II. In FBI documents, an Italian cybersecurity figure, described by an FBI source as Epstein's personal hacker, appears in the case files. The same source says this individual may have held a Vatican passport. The Pope photo was displayed in Epstein's Manhattan mansion, and on his bookshelf, Merchants in the Temple, an expose of Vatican financial corruption and child abuse. The Kaaba cloth in his hands, the Pope on his wall, and the pillars of Solomon's temple on his island. Now look at this. An email, a young woman to Jeffrey Epstein. "I can't do Tantra because I even don't know you well." Another email. "When my mom back to Moscow, I want a lot of Tantra sessions. I definitely want to learn about Tantra. We did exercises, and I had..." She would be in shock. If she saw you during the Tantra, I didn't tell her anything. Next, a numbered list. 1. Kundalini. 2. Prostate massage. 3. Tantra. Obviously, it would seem he had an advanced knowledge of spiritual practice merged with sexual acts, and it was numbered like a schedule. Had Kundalini class, wow. A Kundalini teacher wrote to Epstein, "You want to live forever? I can show you how." Look at this email. Epstein instructs his financial manager, "Send $10,000 to Sacred Space." The service? 50 digital detox massage ritual gift certificates? 20 for the various girls, 20 for patients. $10,000 massage rituals for various girls from a company called Sacred Space. Epstein was also deeply involved with Barbara Carella's Urban Tantra Sacred Sex program. in Charles Muir's Source Tantra School. This is kind of weird. Epstein visited the Dhammakaya Temple in Thailand, a 4-day trip. Day 4, Dhammakaya Temple. Dhammakaya is kind of strange. It's one of the most controversial Buddhist organizations in the world, cult-like practices, a massive golden dome, UFO shaped, and it seats over 1 million people. The Thai government has raided it multiple times. Daniel Siad sent Epstein a link to the Dhammakaya website. In Marrakesh, Epstein had a property with underground disco, underground sitting, underground tunnels. Look at this email. Everything must be kept underground. I just need to find access. It literally may be unfathomable what is going on underground. September 2010, Al Seckel, a cognitive neuroscientist who organized Epstein's island conferences, and Pablos Holman approach Epstein with a proposal. Would you be interested in having all that crap that comes up on a Google search on your name basically disappear? Epstein: yes. Is your yes to our hacking of the internet sites to cause all that crap to disappear? Send the wire details. Listen. The other stuff mysteriously disappears from searches will drive some jerks crazy because they will have no idea how this was possible. Isn't technology fun when you have the right friends? $20,000 to hack search results for a convicted sex offender, and the man offering to do it, Al Seckel, also curated Epstein's guest list, the same guest list that included Larry Page, the co-founder of Google. 4 years later, Seckel fell off a cliff in southern France. But before Seckel died, there's something else in that same email chain. October 2009, Seckel and Epstein are discussing cold fusion. Epstein writes, regarding cold fusion, I killed Pons years ago. Seckel asks, how did you kill him? Stanley Pons, the chemist who claimed to discover cold fusion in 1989. His career was destroyed. He fled to France and never published again. Epstein claims he argued against cold fusion funding in Congress. Says he met with the head of the Mormon church about it. Whether that's true or exaggerated, this is how Epstein saw himself. He wasn't just funding science, he was deciding which science lived and which died, and he was bragging about it. Now here's how the network maintained its power. Look at this. Epstein emailing himself? Subject line: Wexner. 4 emails in 1 minute, each one adding another line. Wexner, necklace. Mother suicide Sharon. Taxes. New Albany. Bankrupt. Never ever. Each email adds another piece of leverage. Necklace, mother's suicide, is he implying that's a fake suicide? Taxes, bankruptcy, a pressure file? The same Wexner who said he lived with a demon. The same Wexner who gave Epstein his mansion and his financial empire. Ghislaine Maxwell had a playbook for it. If you call, I'd start by saying whatever you saw was fake and part of a blackmail scheme. When blackmail came from the outside, Epstein handled it. There's a Russian girl attempting to blackmail a group of powerful businessmen. Epstein, give me a few days to get information about her. He was a fixer. EFTA 024350005. Epstein to Boris Nikolic. I guess you were one of the altar boys that was not abused, but now feels left out. That's how he casually talked about it. Y'all want to see something crazy? It wasn't just notes to himself. This was an operation. EFTA 024-63816. May 2016. Epstein emails himself a memo in real time, documenting a shakedown as it happens. Kadash and Jean-Luc blackmail. Today, at approximately 5:04 p.m., I called Michel Kadash. He told me that boys had gotten Jean-Luc total immunity for $3 million. Jean-Luc would not go in to speak. Whoa. To stop a witness from testifying? EFTA 025-73903. Someone emails Epstein directly. Jeffrey, how many compromising pics of me do you have? Epstein's response, all great. EFTA 023-71291. An associate writes, has all that vile publicity finally gone away for good? Or do they keep stirring the pot for more blackmail money every few months? And the person writing this just spent the weekend at David Koch's in Palm Beach? And then the destruction. EFTA 017-48314. A memo from his operations team. The document retention policy that we have been operating under is as follows. 1999 through 2006, we shred. 2007 through 2014, we scan and shred. Companies to shred: Little St. James, FTC, JEVIF, Zorro Ranch, JEGE, FT Real Estate, Hyperion, NES, every single entity. We're literally just seeing the tip of the iceberg. EFTA 02474072, January 2016. Epstein writing to Ariane de Rothschild. I recognize that in the past, only you had all the pieces and compartmentalized. With good reason. Copies of the girls' passports, yours, medical emergency numbers, current wills. No one in Europe should see all. In the same thread, someone says, Oliver liked the idea of a special Kazakhstan program as the story to tell others. So cover stories for this operation. FBI document, sitting in the Epstein files, top of the page, secret/no foreign. No foreign nationals, classified intelligence. What is this doing in a sex trafficking case? But there's another secret no foreign document I found. EFTA 01683612 and FBI FD 1023. That's a confidential human source report, filed December 2021 out of the Los Angeles field office. Under the active Epstein child sex trafficking investigation, the source says, Epstein was a construct who was playing a role. Specifically, Epstein was running an Israeli state-sponsored technology collection and extortion operation. Whoa. Epstein's operation lured some of the most powerful and influential people in the world to his home, where they had the opportunity to have you-know-what with you-know-who in lavish situations. This would have been recorded in some way, which could be used to control and extort non-cooperators as needed in the future. And about his death? Due to the number of secrets, Epstein must have been aware of it. It's not surprising he did not last long after being put into custody. The source also names Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine's father, as a very wealthy Israeli intelligence Mossad agent. This is a classified FBI intelligence document. So wait, the FBI knew the entire operation was an Israeli state-sponsored sexual blackmail and technology collection scheme? Did boys ask you to help obtain former Mossad agents to do dirty investigations? This is getting a lot of press. EFTA 02507-843, March 2018. Epstein forwards an article about Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine's father, to his circle. The article says, Robert Maxwell threatened Mossad. He told them that unless they gave him $400 million to save his crumbling empire, he would expose all he had done for them. Maxwell passed on all the secrets he learned to Mossad in Tel Aviv. In turn, they tolerated his excesses, vanities, and insatiable appetite for a luxurious lifestyle and women. And Epstein forwarded this. January 2018. Epstein writes to Steve Bannon, the man who ran Trump's presidential campaign. I suggest my house, 9 East 71st Street. Similar to SCIF, you choose the time. A SCIF? A classified intelligence facility? Soundproof, no electronics. Epstein compared his Manhattan townhouse to a classified intelligence facility. And in those same iMessage threads, Bannon asked Epstein about his scientific verticals. What has he put time, thought, and money behind? Epstein's answer? Difference between the unexplainable and the occult. Bannon says, I love that. You familiar with Newton and alchemy? Epstein says very. The Philosopher's Stone. Bannon says, remember, we're showing something that will mesmerize folks. So they're filming something. A documentary. Bannon later asks, do you want to film the island? The ranch? And Epstein defines one of his core intellectual pursuits as the difference between the unexplainable and the occult. Guys, Epstein knows alchemy. And at private dinners with Bezos, both Google founders, and Paul Allen, dinners Epstein was at the table for, the instructions were, please cooperate by maintaining radio silence. Show up alone. And I thought this was kind of crazy. So, in EFTA 016-57089, this is March 2025. An FBI agent emails the former Epstein case team. I was under the impression that there was a homemade sex video of Epstein and Maxwell amongst our seized evidence. Can anyone confirm or deny this? One person responds that I don't recall. The agent writes back, thanks, you happen to be the only one to reply. And the response is, maybe people were afraid to put anything into writing. In 2025. FBI agents are still afraid to discuss Epstein evidence in writing? EFTA 027-29919, October 2021. The MCC, the Metropolitan Correctional Center, where Epstein died, is being closed. A Bureau of Prisons investigator emails the FBI. I was instructed to destroy all evidence that is not needed for investigations. A blanket destruction order? At the facility where Epstein died. The FBI's response? Is it possible to get a list of what you have first? They didn't even know what evidence existed. In 2019, journalist Vicky Ward reported that when the US attorney was asked why Epstein got the most lenient plea deal in federal history, a source said, I was told to back off, that Epstein was above my pay grade. I was told Epstein belonged to intelligence. Belong to intelligence? Remember the Rosicrucian email? What are your thoughts on funding and constructing your own intelligence agency? He was already running one. And here's what the FBI found when they finally went inside. A painting of Bill Clinton in a blue dress, hanging on the wall. A framed photograph of Epstein with Pope John Paul II. A framed photograph of Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, roleplay costumes, including school uniforms, and there's a bunch more disturbing related artworks. There are a few emails that are a little mysterious. For example, this one. You had your eyes clenched shut last time. Not fair. Eyes clenched shut? Eyes wide shut? Stanley Kubrick's film about elite secret society rituals? Another weird one. An unknown sender, sending a full wiki page for The Wicker Man? EFTA 027-22330. So, this movie's about ritual human sacrifice on a remote island, recommending a film about sacrifice on an island to a man who owned an island. One more thing before I pull the thread. In part 1, I showed you a victim who wrote her diary in cipher, rail-fence cipher, and the DOJ decoded it. But there's another one, and she describes even more names, even more powerful men, and she describes a financier who bit her and threw her on the floor. She describes a former Treasury official, a football team owner, a US senator that she says looked like a grandfather but wasn't, and she names them. She's actually literally writing about the system. Yeah, you're gonna have to look into that one on your own. Let me pull the thread. 1868, the Zodiac Club is founded. 12 seats, Rothschild, JP Morgan, the architects of the Federal Reserve. 1985, Les Wexner tells New York Magazine he's lived with a demon since boyhood. 2003, Epstein and Maxwell have a private audience with the Pope. 2007, Epstein purchases Aleister Crowley's sex magic books, The Aeon of the Child. 2010, He asks for help continuing an old school secret society, gets invited to the Zodiac Club. His advisor offers to hack Google. He pays in wire transfer. 2011, he designs a 4-level harem modeled on the Ottoman Palace, the same email thread as a dinner with every tech billionaire alive. 2013, the creator of the world's most famous humanoid robot, an active member of Aleister Crowley's OTO, pitches Epstein a $3 million lab for mind uploading, and a robo-Epstein. 2014, Marina Abramovich performs for Larry Page, Elon Musk, and Epstein. 2015, a quantum computing scientist proposes new Rosicrucianism, a private intelligence agency, and experiments on the island. Epstein forwards it in 28 minutes. The reply? A shadow academy, media manipulation, psychedelic retreats for global influence, and things he wouldn't put in an email. 2017, a man with connections to Washington presents Epstein with Islam's holiest cloth, the kiswa, during a political meeting about Yemen. His island dome was proportioned using the golden ratio. His temple had the pillars of Solomon. His doorways were built so people couldn't leave. His files had a classified intelligence document. And when the US attorney asked why he got the lightest deal in federal history, the answer was, he belonged to intelligence. Everything I just told you has a document number. Part 1 was what Epstein was building, the genetics, the baby farms, the egg doctor. Part 2 is the secret societies, the occult, and the control system that protected it. Part 3 goes into the consciousness network. We haven't touched the psychic experiments, the remote viewing, or the scientists studying how trauma unlocks telepathy in children. We haven't even scratched the surface. But that's part 3. Thanks for watching, and all we can hope is that our minds may be unveiled.